Now, a couple of the things that we've kind of run into that have been questions that we don't necessarily have answers for all these things yet. These are always in mind, and we're taking a look at how to resolve some of these items. One is always the question of security. Of course, the CIO and the folks over in our networking area are always looking at our cybersecurity, making sure that we're not doing something that is going to put at risk our internal networks or data that we have. So this is one that we always have to take a look at as we're using some of these new tools, Second Life or any of the social nets. Bandwidth is another one that we've gone up and down on, especially when you're using voice. That does require a little bit bigger pipe. And the question there is, if we do provide some of our organizations additional areas out here in Second Life, what if a lot of people are having conferences all at the same time? What does that do to our bandwidth? And so there's some of those issues we have to take a look at. Who should have access is one that we've talked about as well. Do you open up the ports? Do you allow everybody in the Second Life who requests it? Are only certain people restricted to go in? Same thing with social networking. How do we regulate that? Just to make sure that people are following any types of policies and that sort of thing that we have in place. So they're not saying something from a business perspective that maybe they should be. And then how is it paid for? One of the things that we looked at when we actually set up in Second Life was if we have a number of agencies coming out to start taking a look at utilizing the area, how do we determine who pays for the island and that sort of thing, the advertising and that sort of thing? Do we divvy it up equally? Is it done by space used and those sorts of questions? So those are a couple of things that we're still kind of looking at, as well as one that's not on here, and that's the whole question of sunshine law. What information do you need to record? Is this more like a phone conversation, or is it more like an email? So things of that nature that the attorneys are discussing and trying to figure out how we actually handle those sorts of situations, and I'm sure there are going to be some policies and guidelines that will be coming out here very shortly to talk a little bit more about that. Okay, some of our accomplishments. As I mentioned earlier, we have done 3 job fairs, February, June, September of last year. We had 25 to 30 people who were showing up to the particular job fairs from all over the world. Actually, the 2 people we hired, kind of comically, actually were from the Jefferson City area. So we were out in this international area, but ended up hiring 2 people from just down the road. So that's been kind of interesting. We did have some folks visiting in and asking questions who came in from England and Scotland, and had some people from Portugal come in. So it's been very interesting doing a job fair and trying to field some of the questions that those folks have. Our first hire was in September of 2008. Actually, he came in as a very small cat wearing a pink tuxedo. So it was kind of interesting. We chatted with him afterwards, brought him in for a real-life job interview and hired him, and he's now working for our Department of Natural Resources doing Java. And so that was a great experience and one that's kind of fun to talk about. Advertising was the key. When we first did our job fairs, we didn't really know how to advertise. We've kind of learned now to use some of the in-world newspapers, in-world various types of user groups that might be out there that are technology related. Real-world newspapers and magazines also, as I mentioned earlier, are always interested in these sorts of things, and so we have a number of people who are interested in participating with us in future job fairs. And we've talked at a couple of different conferences, and people always ask us when the next job fair is. So we'll try to get information out of when that occurs and let people know so that you can come out and actually attend one of those. Some of the things that we have worked on, we had some drafts on, but we're kind of in a holding pattern right now, is some employee use guidelines. As I mentioned before, is one of the issues was trying to determine how we who can go out there, and once we allow people out there, what kind of guidelines do they need to follow. So we kind of look at some of the existing real-world policies and see if those parallel over to into a virtual world. For instance, dress codes, general conduct, and those sorts of things really don't have to rewrite. We just kind of incorporate those. But there's some others that are a little different for a virtual environment. So we're taking a look at putting together some of those types of policies. And then an authorization form also that we have in draft that what we're trying to do there is get the upper management of each department involved so that if someone from their area wants to get in and use Second Life or some of the social nets, they would have to go through the department head to get approval first, and before they would be able to get access. The rest of this, talking about the custom name, has to do with the Second Life specifically. We were looking at establishing a custom last name so that anybody with the last name of Missouri Gov, you know, was a person from the state of Missouri who is in Second Life doing business, and also have a coordinator who would establish setting up those avatars and that sort of thing as well too. So a few of those that are still in draft form, what we're going to work on and hopefully be able to provide those out at some point. The state of Missouri is very supportive of what I know. The governor is very supportive of information technology overall. So we're really looking hard at what we know and how we can best utilize that to get information out to the citizenry of the state of Missouri. And final slide here before we do questions. Here's our contact information for Jan and myself, our email. This is the website that we mentioned earlier on. It has our job posting information down here, and then the Second Life information that in case you want to come out and take a look at our particular location, please be more than welcome to give you a tour. If you let us know, we can just bring you out and take you for a walk around, or please just come in and visit and take a walk through our particular area. We'd love to see you out there and answer any questions for you. Thank you very much.